I mean, we all have different goals. For me, my goal is to create dynastic wealth that I can pass on to my children and my grandchildren because I want them to have choices. But number one, not everybody has children, right? So they would not need to do what I'm doing for myself personally. So that's why all of the strategies are really customized. And the first thing that has to take place is you need to have a conversation and define what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Right. And then it's the right tool for the job. So that's why we all are, you're in a different circumstance than I am. You're going to have different goals than I do. You're going to have different means to work with than I do. So yeah, it all has to be, all the strategy is basically at the base, it's the same. Mm-hmm. It's what goes on top of it, those nuances that really need to be customized to you, your circumstances, and your goals. Well, you might actually want to execute the strategy yourself, or at least get it down on paper where you can take a look at it and determine, oh, well, do I have enough? Do I need more? Because it's based on all of your holdings. Now, personally, because this is a world that I've lived in on some level my entire life, I have a much higher level of comfort with the tangible market. I want it in my hands. Yeah, right. And I want it absolutely unencumbered. And even real estate, you can have it paid off, but you're always going to have the property taxes because that is immovable property. Mm-hmm. And I say immovable property because that's the way the government and the central bank classifies it. You can't put it on your back and walk away, but you can do that with gold and silver, physical. Gold and silver have been in this battle for so long that they are sitting over here on the sidelines, almost unnoticeable, which is perfect, quite honestly, right. Because you definitely can see the cryptocurrency space now under attack, in China and also in the US with the new taxes coming out on it, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know who's going to win that battle, but I cannot really see central banks just handing over the power of the payment system to private entities without this huge battle. Right. But I still do think that the SDR is the best positioned because it's been around since 69. People don't realize that, but it's been around since 1969. And that too is fully integrated throughout the global system. I mean, you can go to the post office and in their search bar, put in SDR and you'll find it. The same thing with the airlines. So I still think the SDR ends up being the world reserve currency. And of course, it's not physical anyway, so it's going to be digital, but then everything would pass through the IMF. And when you understand that the members of the IMF are treasury secretaries and central bank chiefs, that gives them total control. And I think we can also see with the blockchain technology that the goal is to have all assets registered on blockchain. Now, for governments, that gives them the ability to do lifetime taxes, which is something they've been talking about. And, but it would all be controlled through the IMF. So unless there is indeed a revolution, and we'll see, unless there is indeed a revolution, I think the IMF is the one that's going to come out running the whole show and expanding that monetary basket to include all of its members so that you then have, the Fed coin. And I think they will allow, they're going to have to, because you can see how quickly Wall Street is adopting the cryptocurrencies. So, if we're in that regime with all of that, with all of the ability to influence the government, I think that, it will survive. I don't think it's going to survive at the levels that it's at. It can go up even higher, but and I can even see some of the utility, but to me, that's where the speculation is. And that's also where the battle royale is taking place right now. And I feel like that battle is heating up. What we know, what history tells us, is that we're going to have on average, a currency resets before we get to that point that you're talking about 3 times. Will it be more? Will it be fewer this time? I don't know. But no, I don't think that the SDR imposed on the population is what's going to generate confidence unless they put, and they've talked about this, they put a component of gold into the SDR, which would then stabilize the monetary system. That's why governments always go back to gold after a hyperinflationary event, because that's really the only way to instill that confidence.
Right.
And I don't see them putting a component of, the crypto space is way too volatile. It's not really going, and people still don't understand it. You have to be an engineer in that space in order to fully understand it, or maybe engineers in general can. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. No, I think that's where the gold comes in. And I think that it's not going to be 100% gold back,
Right.
but I think it'll have a percentage in there. And that's what they will use to instill the confidence, because that's what history tells us. Could this time be different? Well, of course. But is it likely to be different this time? It usually isn't. So I don't think so. A rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. So it's kind of like you have a spring in your hand and you're holding your hand on that spring, and you can keep it there and keep it there and keep it there. But when they reset the currency, they're releasing that spring. And then you'll see gold in nominal terms go up somewhere near its fundamental value. At the same time, we know right now that real assets, other than gold and silver, are severely overvalued.
Right.
So everything in terms of real assets, everything goes from undervaluation to fair valuation, to overvaluation to fair valuation to undervaluation.
Okay.
And it always overshoots one way or the other. It's just the way that it works. So history also tells us that this is when you will be able to expand that purchasing power. You can't really go so much by what it can buy you today versus that's just going to stay the same in the future, because the valuations are so cattywampus right now. Right. And I can tell you, on average, 25 ounces of gold would buy an entire city block, buildings and all, during this kind of reset event.